All right, you guys, thanks so much for calling in for our weekly Dreamers in Action Team call. I hope that you all had an amazing 4th of July and enjoyed having last week off. Before I introduce our guest host tonight and we dive into the content of this call, the first thing I want to do is congratulate just so many people on this team for the rank advancements that we had and really just crushing the June boom. It's fun to see all those people that had earned the $250, people that earned the free hotel room, our recent consultants and managers and directors and executives and people going 5-star or 5-cycle and 1-star. And it's just really, really fun to see the heat picking up into celebration. And for those of you on the fence right now about celebration, you're like, should I go? Should I not go? Why would I go? Just know that events change everything. And Keith and I both posted something today in Dreamers in Action that came from Kelly Dickerhoof, but there's not a single top earner. You look at the top, 300 or 400, let alone the top 100 or top 50. That isn't going to events. I mean, that's just the key to this. And so all of you on this call, absolutely going. And just remember that for each person that you get to the event, how that's going to grow your business because you're getting them trained. It's helping with retention. It's helping with duplication. And they're just so freaking fun. So with no further ado, I want to introduce Sarah Slutz, who, you guys, one of my favorite things in network marketing is the people that you would never have otherwise known. And Sarah, I think, is 6 levels down in my organization. She's one of our recent Crystal executives. But more than that, she is an Instagram guru. Like 6 months ago, we were at ICU Phoenix. I was like, how do you do that? What's this? How are you drawing on that? And I started drilling her. And then because of just a calendar that was full, it took a while to be able to get her genius to pop in here and share some goods with you. So I fortunately got to preview a little bit of the slideshow and kind of see what's in store. And almost on a weekly basis, I'm like, help. How do I do this? And she's responding to me, and I know you guys are just going to love this. So if you can, turn on your videos, and I'm going to mute, and I'm going to let Sarah kind of take it away and do the share screen, and we're going to rock and roll.
Awesome. Lauren, thank you so much. I do love that. I mean, all of your beautiful faces and souls I never would have touched if not for network marketing. So such a blessing. And this is so fun for me. I've really grown to love social media. And really the platform of Instagram has taken off. I know Lauren posted, I think just yesterday, one of the stats about the Instagram stories in particular and just how crazy popular it is by far, far and above Snapchat right now. I mean, it's just taken off. And even the Instagram, having an Instagram profile, not even just the stories, but Instagram itself, the algorithms are so much different between that and Facebook that it is really a wonderful tool to leverage. So we'll get into some of that here in a minute, but I wanted to kind of kick off by starting just talking a little bit about social media in general. Really, social media is your marketing, right? We talk so much about connecting with people one-on-one and belly-to-belly, and while that is so important and so crucial, social media gives you the ability to leverage your time, leverage your audience, build a brand, establish your expertise, and just expose you to a much larger network. So it really is your marketing. I come from a business background. I worked for several small businesses, and I still remember one entrepreneur that I was getting some coaching from. He now owns a billion-dollar company, and he told me, he said, Sarah, from the very beginning, the first person that we paid was Mark. Before he got a paycheck, before anybody else, we paid Mark, and Mark stood for marketing. That's how crucial it is. You have to be getting that message out there, staying top of mind to people. And in our realm, that is social media. And how much more fun is that, right? When we get to combine our personal lives into connecting with our friends and sharing our stories, and also just dripping on our audience with this wonderful thing that is Isogenics. So just want to emphasize the importance of social media in general, because you really have to have an appreciation for what it can do for your business, to really, you have to have that desire to leverage it and just understand the impact that it can have. So with that, I wanted to start off by maybe a raise of hands. If you guys, maybe if don't get your screens on, maybe put a comment in the chat. Who currently uses Instagram? Maybe half, okay. So it'll be a smaller hands raised than this time. So yes, a couple more in the chats. Who's maybe leveraging Instagram stories right now? A few, okay. I was assuming that. So tonight I really structured the content that we're gonna go over from a pre-foundation. We're going to kind of start from the basics and build from there. So I posted earlier in this event page, if you guys can, I would love for you to pull out your cell phones and open up the Instagram app and follow along. A lot of us are going to learn a lot better if we can see this while we're doing it. Yes, I did put together some slides, but they're just still shots. So I want you to get the most out of our, our brief time that we have tonight, so you can really understand it, and that'll give you that confidence to really use it. So pull out your phones if you can, open up that app, and we'll go ahead and dive in. So let's get down to, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now, and we can dive in. Desktop 1. I have 2 screens, so it's making me pick one. Okay. So it doesn't show me what you guys see. Lauren, do you guys see the slides here? Yes? Okay, perfect.
Sorry, I'm muted. Yeah, we have it in it says let's talk about it, but I can see the slides on the left too. I don't know if you want it in the slideshow view or the presenter view, but.
You're gone now. Okay, perfect. I have 2 monitors. So, all right, so let's dive in. And first, let's talk a little bit about Instagram. So if you guys you've pulled up the app, first I want to just talk a little bit about more generally the differences, kind of what makes Instagram stand out. And really, Instagram is a visual platform. It is all about the pictures, okay? So unlike Facebook, where you see the feed that you see is very different, right? You can just post text, you can post, you have a lot more options, if you will. Instagram is 100% picture driven. So I wanted you guys to see some of the ways that you'll recognize the names up there. Audrey McLeod, Eden Slobin, these are a couple of people that I follow. Paige Hilkin is another member of the START community. There you'll see, and then I put my page up there too, because I'm starting to really adopt a lot of what they're doing. You'll see a lot of cohesion, right? You'll see consistency with colors. You'll see consistency with white space, with text or lack thereof. So just keep in mind, Instagram really is a visual platform. So when you're coming up with content ideas for Instagram versus Facebook, you got to take a little bit different of an approach. So that's a whole nother call. We could spend all day talking about Instagram and the value of having wonderful pictures on there. But I just wanted you guys to see a little bit of some of the ones that are doing it really, really well, and kind of what stands out to that. So that also leads into why the stories are so powerful, because this is picture driven, visually driven. It makes sense to have that video and the additional way to add more content visually to your brand through the stories. So let's talk real basics. What are Instagram stories? So you'll see the picture that I have right there. You open up that app, you will see right along the top, all of those little circles, those are the Instagram stories. Now, if you noticed on Facebook, Facebook adopted stories as well. They're essentially the same thing. I personally don't post to Facebook stories. I'll tell you why in a second, but the way you go about it and the way that they show up is exactly the same. There's those little circles along the top with the pictures of the individual. So all you do to watch them is you just tap on one of them, and Instagram will just sequence you through, and you get to watch all of whoever has posted a story. What makes them really valuable to leverage is that you're always at the top, right? Instead of somebody having to scroll through and see a post from you, your face is at the top. So if you've got that app open, you can scroll to the side and you'll see all of the people that have posted to their story in the last 24 hours. How amazing is that? Like, talk about exposure to your audience, right? Staying top of mind, literally. It's a wonderful tool. So essentially what you can do with Instagram stories, you can add videos, you can take 15-second videos, you can upload pictures, and they can also be older pictures. So actually any picture that you've taken ever, if it's in your album, you can scroll through and add it to your story. So I love that there's no restrictions there. It appears at the top of the app. It lasts for 24 hours. So it's a wonderful opportunity for you to just, especially within, if we wanted to have a promo or anything, it's nice that those go away after 24 hours, right? so you can keep that content fresh, keep the, your audience engaged. So what's really cool about the stories themselves is that they don't have to be so perfect, right? People want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And at the end of the day, we are selling ourselves, right? People are joining Isagenix because they want to be a part, they want help from us, right? We're a part of that equation. So we're a part of that brand. So the more that they can feel that they have that connection with us, that they understand who we are, that they develop that relationship, which, I mean, Eden Sloman does not know who I am, but I know a lot about her, and I feel like I connect with her. So that's a powerful thing about social media, but even more so on the stories, because you can let people in behind the scenes in your day-to-day life as you're cooking for the kids. I mean, if you've watched any of my stories, my dog Lucy shows up about every third story. So it allows people in on really who you are. The key is to be genuine, and not worry about it being so perfect, right? I love adding value. I think that's incredibly important as well. While I want to keep it personal and lighthearted, being able to add that value and also introduce more of kind of the lifestyle of Isagenix, I mean, it's a great opportunity to do that. So we'll get into content in a little bit, but that's kind of the general gist. So I want to check over here. Are there any questions that showed up in the chat? Oh, am I able to see that? I don't think I am. Oh, yes, I am. Can you tell? First time screen sharing? Okay, so no questions yet. So awesome. We're going to keep going. Come on, there it goes. So why use them? We kind of already covered that a little bit. It allows you to just be authentic, have that consistent, direct connection. It's really an additional branding opportunity. I mean, we're selling ourselves as alongside selling Isagenix. So it really does just give you a more complex opportunity to brand yourself, right? When we can only post, one or two, or a couple times a day, people, they don't really get to connect with you, right? They get to see it. It almost seems a little bit more formal, if you will. But once you start using stories, and more importantly, once you start watching stories, you'll see how personal they are, and that it really does allow for authentic connection. It also increases engagement. So if you've been in a conversation about social media at all, that engagement, if people are liking, commenting, those kind of things, that's crucial, right? That makes that post, or makes you more prominent in the algorithms that I kind of mentioned before. So when you use stories, that engagement is huge. It gives you more opportunity to ask questions. You can put polls in there. You can have more of a casual relationship with the people that are following you. And those kind of things will help broaden your audience and increase your amount of followers. So, okay, we'll keep going. I'm just going to keep an eye out and see if any questions pop up. Okay, let's talk about the basics. So if you have that app open still, the way that you add to your story is, you'll see on that first picture, that little camera button. Just tap that guy and you'll get a blank screen, which is the next picture of the wonderful Doberman, not my dog. I just found these. My dog is a Great Dane, not a Doberman. So you'll see just a camera, right? So you can point wherever you want. You'll see along the bottom, you can swipe through. So I'm going to do it alongside with you too, so I get them in the right order. So you'll see the word normal, right? That just takes a standard picture. If you swipe, you'll see boomerang. This takes a little mini video that repeats itself. You'll see super zoom. You'll see focus. You'll see rewind, plays the video backwards, and hands-free. This allows you to just tap that and it'll record for 15 seconds. You won't have to stop the video. So the best thing for you to do is truly just play with these. I mean, there's no point in us going through all of them together on the call here. Once you start playing with them, you'll see how they all work. If you swipe left, you'll see a live option. That would be the same thing as Facebook Live. And then also a type option. So you can actually type, you know, any content just on you can pick a color for the background and just type. So those are some options for actually taking the photo or the video. Then, okay, let's talk about stickers. Okay, so if you're following along, just go ahead and snap a picture, and then on the top of your screen, you'll see a few buttons. It'll be a letter, a little pen, and then a face that looks like a sticker. Go ahead and tap the sticker, or you can swipe up. That also gives you access to all of these. So then you can see there's so many things you can add to your stories to customize them, make them more fun and personal. So you can add a location wherever you are. Adding a location also will add that particular story into, okay, so we know how hashtags work, right? So if you hashtag something, then someone can search that hashtag and your post will show up, okay? If we add a location to a story, it does the same thing. So there's actually stories that you can watch that all have the same theme of location. So that's awesome. What I've started to do is, especially, I actually didn't even notice that until I started tagging myself at the gym. And then I started, when I would look and see who watched my story, it said Boise view. I'm in Boise, Idaho. It would say Boise viewers or Boise city story or something. And then I had like 25 more followers because they saw that through that correlated story. So adding a location is great. Hashtags work the same way in stories. So hashtags, if they're trending, they will also have their own story. So that can increase more viewers for you. You can see you can add the temperature outside. That auto-populates just from wherever your phone is. Same with location and date. You can change the location. I shouldn't say that. You can change that. But you can take, if you start scrolling through there, you can see sticker after sticker. They change every day. So like day of the week will have different stickers. They'll have, you can see in that one picture on the far right, that's a holiday. Obviously when this picture was taken, it's in the holidays. So those rotate seasonally. There's just a lot of ways that you can really just customize it more and engage more really with your audience. Specifically, you'll see a little poll button on there. If you tap that, you'll see this box that shows up. It just says ask a question. So you can ask anything you want and then also type in the correlating buttons that people can push. So it doesn't have to be yes or no. It could be, you know, you could customize that however you want. So this is a great way. We talked about engagement. This is the perfect way to do it, right? Sometimes I'll ask questions that I don't really care about the answer. It's purely just to get people tapping and engaging, because that's going to build that relationship more. Even if they're just tapping, they're still connecting with me, right? We're not, I mean, and sometimes there'll be an opening to have a conversation, which would be the ultimate goal. They just came out, I literally just saw today that there's a new feature that you can actually ask, your viewers can ask a question. So that's going to be cool too. Keep an eye out for that. But these are kind of some of those ways that you can really just increase that engagement. Just have more of a dialogue with your followers. Again, you're building that relationship with them. You should really treat any online relationship you have just like any relationship you have in person. And that's how you can make those the most valuable for you and for your business. So lots of sticker options. Best thing to do is just play with those. Want to make sure that I'm not missing. Oh, you can also save any photo that you take as just onto your phone, which is kind of cool. You can also connect your Instagram story to your Facebook story. So I mentioned that Facebook basically has the same structure as Instagram when it comes to stories. And you can, I'm sure you've seen on Facebook, you have the option to post to my Facebook story. What you can do, Instagram was really smart, and there's in your settings, which is just a little wheel, just go to that wheel. In the settings, you can say push to Facebook or share to Facebook. And it will literally take anything you post here and it'll take it to Facebook. What's cool is that the polls will also carry over. So people can vote on your polls on Facebook even though you're not actually posting from Facebook. So that's pretty neat too. So I probably have 2 to 3 times as many followers, the people that watch my stories consistently on Instagram versus Facebook. So it is definitely, I mean, Instagram, it's where it's at now, you guys. It's coming. So I would definitely encourage you to play around with this. And it's once you start clicking around, it's really very user-friendly and really simple to use. And I could not encourage more to just follow other people. Follow people that you connect with, I think, for sure. And that's obviously up to you. I have a handful of people within Isogenics that I follow specifically because I love to see how they handle when we have different promos, how they handle, you know, the new features that come out within the app. So I've discovered, you know, the ones that I really connect with and the ones that I try to mirror within my own. But follow, just creep on some people and follow, because that'll go a lot further. You'll just learn a lot faster. Okay, let's go to the next. So those are kind of the basics. Now I want to go just a touch deeper. So I know this is a lot of information, especially because most of you haven't been exposed to this before, but I want you to know how deep you can go with it, okay? And you can always, of course, reach out with questions. I'm happy to help facilitate those, but there's also umpteen trainings online you can tap into too. But let's talk about video splitter. So the videos of you are only allowed 15 seconds. So if there's something specifically that you want to talk about that's going to be longer than 15 seconds, you can have the option. There's a couple apps. Let's see, for iPhone, it's Cut Story, and for Android, it is, let me see, I think, I'll think of the name. But there's apps that you can basically set it up, take your whole video, and then it will split it into 15-second intervals. So that's a great tool for, so that you're not kind of starting and stopping, right? That can feel really halty for your viewers. So that would just be something to keep in mind. Another thing I liked is you can actually see it in that picture on the right there, adding text on your videos. So if you do have longer videos, or if you have ones that, you know, in multiple sequence, something that I picked up from some of the people that I follow is actually adding just like a real short, not even a sentence, but just a little kind of the key words of what you're saying in your video. I've noticed that sometimes if I'm watching a video that's maybe a string of 7 stories all together, I start getting lost. So, or I start losing interest just personally. So, but if I have a little bit of a blurb at the bottom, then I can pick up on the kind of general message bullet points and then either skip forward, or I'll know I want to stick around and watch the whole thing. So I started doing that myself, and I think that I've noticed that my the numbers of followers stay consistent. Instead of maybe 3 or 4 videos in, I'll get a drop in numbers and then they'll come back up. Is there a difference in using the video splitter app instead of screen? No, there's not a difference. It just is smoother, is all it is. So sometimes depending on the topic, sometimes it's more appropriate to have that conscious strain of thought instead of taking the video, putting in a blurb, you know, adding a location or something, and then posting it, and then trying to get back into the group of talking. So it kind of depends on what you're trying to share. With that being said, I will say that it's important not to overload. Don't put 50 stories up in a day. Be strategic about how many you put up there, because if people see a whole bunch of, you see at the top how many stories they have, and if people see 17 more to go, then they may tune out and they may stop watching before they even get to the meat of what you want them to see. So, yeah, couple notes there. Great question. Oh, I just answered that. I don't know if there's like an exact number, but if it starts to feel a little busy or feel a little lengthy, I mean, I actually haven't ever counted how many I've done in a day, but once the little tabs at the top start getting real small, start looking like bullet points, that's when I start backing off. So just kind of play with that, and also, again, just watch, see what some of the other leaders are doing. That's the best way to learn. So, okay, the next bullet point has highlights. So this is something I haven't dived into fully yet, but the concept is, so you see this screenshot of this gal's page, and then all those little circles that are below her little bio or profile info that that arrow is pointing to, those are her highlights. So what Instagram's done is that this is actually on her profile page, but right above all of her pictures and her actual posts, she's been able to save highlights from her stories. So you can categorize them. So if you look at some of the isogenics leaders, they'll have one for like health, maybe recipes, fitness, if that's, you know, part of your branding, family. I made one for Lucy. That's all I've done so far, but so you can really, that's totally up to you. Faith, I mean, you'll see a lot of different options within that. So, but essentially when you post to your story, you can have the option to save it to a particular highlight collection. So that's just another way for, especially when people kind of, if they stumble upon your profile and maybe don't know you, then that's a great way for you to keep, you know, some highlights that are real pertinent to you or your branding right there, so people can get a good look at who you are. Lucy, go lay down. I said her name. They can really get to see who you are all on their own, right? And in such a genuine, personal kind of way. So to make highlight covers, you have to make them in a story. So basically design it yourself. There's a wonderful app / they have a desktop as well. It's called Canva, C-A-N-V-A. You can actually select the dimensions that you need, and they have one designated for stories. So that's what I do whenever I'm trying to make a document or, you know, put some images together for my story specifically, versus maybe just taking a picture or something like that. So if you can use that app, I'm sure there's others, but that's the one that I use. You can select the right size, design it however you want. You can use pictures for the cover or your highlights, or you can design something. If you look at, I know Eden and they'll have like a designated cover so that all of the highlights look the same and just have a different word to designate what the topic is. So yeah, great question. And yeah, that's the easiest way to do that. But then you do have to post it to your story in order to then save it to your highlight. And then once you get into the highlight, then you can select which of your stories you want to be your cover photo. Good question. All right, I'm gonna just touch base on my notes just to make sure I'm hitting everything that I want to. Talk about that. Oh, one just note, something that I've noticed the more that I watch other people, I would not recommend putting a lot of text all at once. So remember when we were swiping, we had that text option where you could just add words to, you know, you could pick the color of the background. I would try to stay away from something lengthy. People's attention spans are short. So there are times where I think it is appropriate, and you do have the option, just so that you guys know, as you're watching someone's story, if you tap and hold your finger on the screen itself, it'll freeze it. So you'll see a lot of people that will post like hold to read. So if you tap and hold, then you can read whatever they have on there. It's still an image. But with that being said, they are just 15 seconds. So I would, most often, I will keep something shorter, sweeter, so that they can, in theory, read it in less than 15 seconds. The only times that I stray away from that is if I'm trying to just generate a lot of interest to drive them to a post. That's another great way to use stories, is if you put up a post, then you can reference it in your story and draw more people to viewing your post itself. They're more likely to see your story than your post. Thinking about those algorithms again, right? So a lot of people will put in, myself included, I'll reference some of the posts that I want more engagement on. I will reference them in my story. And that'll be, so maybe if I'm trying to develop more intrigue, then I might put in a little bit more text. Maybe sharing a little bit more of a transformation story, I'll put in some more text. But other than that, I try to keep it kind of short and sweet, because that's really what the stories are about, right? It's 15 seconds. So just keeping in line with that. I personally just, if I see something that's the whole screen's worth, I typically don't read it. That's just me when I'm watching other people's stories. So if I'm not going to do it, then I'm not going to set other people up to do it. Okay, let's talk about some additional content strategies, okay? So this, when it comes to the content of this, I think balance is a big thing, but I think being genuine is more important. So with this, you can kind of tip those scales to be a little bit more personal. Let's take a step back. Give a bigger, let's go back to more general social media concepts for a second, right? We hear a lot within Isogenics, the 10-4-1 strategy when it comes to posting, right? So 10 posts should be personal, 4 posts should be related to Isogenics, and 1 post should be what we call a power post. Okay, so those 10 personal posts can be family, hobbies, adventures, vacations, what you're cooking for dinner, going to the gym, just life, right? The 4 Isogenics related posts, these ones should demonstrate the ISO life in some way, shape, or form. So that could, for me, it's like posting about what shake flavor I have that day, maybe a couple comments about what I love about it. It could be, I love talking about the chocolates, the Iso Delights all the time. I do a lot about the performance products because I use those 5 days a week. So I incorporate just demonstrating my lifestyle and what it looks like to live with these products. Cleanse days are a big one too. When it comes to those Isogenics posts, side tangent for 1 quick second. When it comes to those, you're going to see a lot of different approaches that people take when it comes to sharing the brand. Okay, so some people will put in pictures, the name Isogenics, they'll say Isogenics in the post itself. They're very forward with that. On the other side of the spectrum, you have people that don't. They'll, instead of saying Isogenics, it's a nutritional cleansing system, it's a health program, it's X, Y, or Z. And in pictures, they'll hide the name. So the trains of thought on hiding it, if you will, is to generate interest, right? We want people to be intrigued by what we're doing and curious, instead of the opposite. Is if we put out the name Isogenics, then what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to hop over Google and they're going to type in Isogenics, and they're going to get the retail prices and write off that it's way too expensive. And they're going to see who knows what reviews. I mean, whatever's out there. So I prefer the building curiosity strategy because it gives me more control over that conversation. Okay, so if people ask me what the heck it is I'm doing, then I can introduce value and testimony and connection before we even get to the fact that it's Isogenics. So I prefer that. It is, I mean, there are valid arguments for either way that you want to go. It's really going to be what you feel the most comfortable with and what works best for you. But that's my off rant here. That's my thought about when it comes to those 4 posts that are Isogenics related. Then that 1 post that is the power post. This one is the strongest, if you will, regarding Isogenics. It should be like a transformation before and after, either physical or financial. It just should demonstrate a little bit more power, inspiration, right? We want to inspire, not sell, right? So I still, in my power posts, I still do not name Isogenics because I want curiosity. I want to have that. I want to have the chance to have that conversation with people instead of them writing it off. So that's the 10-4-1 strategy. When it comes to stories, I honestly think that you can kind of correlate it a little bit, but we have there's a lot more flexibility when it comes to the Isogenic stuff, in my opinion. I think we can be more forward with it when it comes to promos and deals. If you follow Audrey, Emily Vavra, Eden, they don't post in their actual posts about promos. or if they do, it's very passive. They don't lead with that. But in their stories, they do. They talk about it. They invite people, hey, if you've been waiting, like we have this awesome deal going on, I'd love to help you save $100. So they'll do that in their stories. So I think it works that way because it's so much more genuine and conversational, right? Because the platform, it's just plain different. So we can be more forward. I mean, I still don't, and neither do they. I mean, we don't use the word isogenics, but still sharing those deals and discounts and when those promos and things come out, we can just be more forward with it. As far as other content in general, the biggest, I mean, the H5, I got that from another gal, that page gal. I loved it. Heartfelt, funny, interesting, adding value, education. I mean, each of those posts each of the stories that you make should all serve a purpose, right? It shouldn't just be a post to post. I mean, they should still share something that allows connection and relationship building. So kind of have that filter, I think. But the biggest thing is just being genuine, being real. That's what I think makes them the most effective. Don't overpost, like I mentioned before. Don't do 50 in a day. I don't know, 10, 20 probably. 25 is maybe the max that I'll do in a day-ish. I've actually never counted. But you can see, once you start watching other people's stories, you'll get an idea. Once you start getting tired of watching, I mean, pay attention. Like that's really how I learned that. So, and then always have that filter, just like we do with everything else with social media. Would I want to watch this? Would I want to read this? Do I find this interesting? There's that value, or there's that balance of putting out who you are and keeping in mind that it's still marketing, right? Like we still always have that filter. I mean, that part of it is important. But to me, this has been the most fun evolution of social media because it does allow for just genuine connection. I cannot tell you how many conversations that have started from something totally random in my story, a lot of it with Lucy, but we'll start talking about dogs, and then we'll plan a dog date, and then I've started to have a lot more connections and genuine relationships just because of my stories. And then of course that gives you a much larger platform to talk about isogenics and bring it into the conversation. So questions. Oh no, we're good. Okay, any other questions? That's about it when it comes to, that's all of the content for tonight when it comes to Instagram stories themselves. So if you've got any questions, throw them in the chat right now. I know we've covered a lot, especially since most of you haven't been exposed to this before, but I tried to keep it relatively basic and relatively progressive. So you can really
I have am in our Dreamers in Action page, and where I'll put the recording to this, and just like put the screenshot up of that app that you recommended, or just a couple other comments that I put in the picture of the high five and stuff. If you have resources that you've been looking at on different trainings for Instagram, especially like the best or most efficient ways to like decorate them, or do you know what I mean? Like just things like that. Cause I feel like some people's look like a clutter mess. Some people's are so organized or so clean. If there's any tips on that outside of this call that you can just like post, or even if you want to make a file in our Dreamers in Action page, just as like resources to learn Instagram. I think a lot of people know this and are moving over there to be more proactive. And if you've already done that, just even places that you think are good ones, that would be really helpful. And this whole call is amazing. Thank you so much. You did awesome.
Good. Yes, and I'd be happy to share. To be completely honest with you, I have learned the most just from watching. I've just done a lot of stalking and creeping. So, but I can definitely put together some of the more bullet points, if you will, of kind of the things that I've learned and adopted myself. If there's no other questions about stories, I would love to take like 5 more minutes and actually talk about Instagram. So I added this slide one more time because I knew this platform is still a little bit foreign to most of us. So Facebook serves a lot of wonderful purposes, and it gives you some freedoms that Instagram does not. So you really do have, leveraging both is worth the time. As with all things, get comfortable with one before you start adding more, but it will be worth your time to explore Instagram and just start seeing what you can do with it. One word of caution, Instagram does allow you to, if you create a post with an Instagram, you can push it straight to Facebook. Don't do that because it doesn't register in the Facebook algorithms the same way as if you were to post it directly to Facebook. So if you make a post in Instagram, I just copy it and I paste it and then I post it again on Facebook. That's going to show up better for you for the algorithm. So side note on that. But using both really is a wonderful combination because so much of our coaching and our team is based out of Facebook. So we've got to leverage that for sure. But Instagram is you can reach a broader audience because of the way that the algorithms are following. Okay, so Lauren, actually the link that you shared from Eden's call where she interviewed Audrey about Instagram, that was like the perfect summary. So a couple bullet points from that call. Find it, guys. It's worth the watch. It's long, but it's worth it. So she talks about identifying themes within your posts. Okay, so instead of it's kind of a spin off of that 10-4-1. She talks about she only posts about once a day. So it's about half as much as what has kind of been preached before. And that really is an adjustment because of the platform. So and a little bit of personal preference too, but I think 1 to 2 posts a day. I mean, maybe meeting in the middle of that is a good one, but she talks about having themes. So instead of maybe being so specific about 10 personal posts, 4 isogenics posts, 1 power post, she's identified 5 or 6 themes: fitness and health, her marriage, her faith, isogenics, and residual income, I think were the ones that she listed. And so what she does is that she's compiling those posts and looking, she'll kind of look back and say, how long ago has it been since I posted about my marriage? How long has it been since I posted about isogenics, right? So she kind of cycles through those themes consistently so that she's still giving her followers and her audience a diverse kind of content, but she's making sure that she's hitting all the things that are important to her. I still remember my first celebration, Tracy O'Malley talked about identifying 3. When somebody looks at your social media, they should know the 3 things most important to you, or the 3 things that really, sum you up. And so it's kind of a play on that. I mean, Audrey expanded it a little bit, but this is how you build a brand, right? You have to have that consistency. People need to know what to expect when they see a post from you. I'm sure she's going to talk about health. I'm sure she's going to talk about her marriage. Dogs. That was the other one that she talked about. So identifying those themes is really helpful. The other big thing that she talked about was the visual aspect of it, and that is massive. Instagram is a visual platform. So if you start looking at people that have millions of followers and that are Insta famous, you'll see their profiles look like these guys. Specifically those 3. I'm still working on it, but I wanted you to see a little bit of diversity. So obviously with Audrey, she loves the cool tones. She did a lot of research about the cool tones are typically easier for people to, they're more aesthetically pleasing to the eye. She prefers a lot of white space and consistent colors. Eden is all about the bright. Have you seen her hair? Like, of course that's Eden, right? That's what we would expect from her. So her page is still, her hair is the consistent color, but you can still see that consistency. They also talked about how you can adapt the color and theme of your Instagram over time, right? So in the summer, the colors that you may have access to are greens or blues, but in the winter, maybe it's more grays, right? And whites, because it's snowy and cold and whatever. So you can really adapt that over time. Paige, I loved hers. She did a lot of work on softening those pictures, so you can see they all had the same kind of tone. and they have a lot of people in them, right? She takes a lot of pictures of her family. So again, another way to make it consistent. With me, I love quotes. I just do. So I wanted to integrate those into mine. So I just started a few weeks ago, kind of really paying attention to this, and I just added in a color consistency. It just happened to be red. It literally just worked out that way. I was like, oh, I've had 4 posts that I've read it. I'm going to stick with this. So I'm exploring what that looks like, and kind of the challenges that will come with that. Of course, that adds another element of complication, right? If you're trying to keep those colors consistent. But it doesn't have to be so specific. But if you can just start with keeping, even if it's just consistent pictures of you, or consistent pictures of quotes, or some semblance of organization on there, that's your mind is going to be, your followers are going to be more drawn to your page. So don't overthink it. I definitely have been. Oh my gosh, I've been spending way too much time thinking about my pictures and my Instagram. But I'm learning, right? It's always hardest in the beginning. But so I think as I move out of red, my plan is to introduce a little bit more diversity in my colors so that I'm not so kind of cornered in. But I want to develop a couple more weeks of consistency so that if somebody's scrolling through my page, they'll see this chunk of time, which can happen fast, right? I mean, it's only 3 posts, so you got 2 whole lines in a week or more. So you can change it pretty quickly. But anyway, I want to develop a little bit of consistency before I make another transition or a change. Yes, Rachel, great names in there. Check the chat, you guys. Great people to follow, both their pages and their stories. I think I follow all of those. Yes. So you can see it, and everybody is a little bit different, and that's kind of the beauty of it, right? It's your page, it's your story. It has to be genuine to you to make it authentic. So, but following others, taking those cues, success leaves clues. So, but taking those cues from them about kind of how they're leveraging this would be just a huge suggestion for sure. So, yes, Kelly's great. Yeah, you named all of the ones that I follow. So, yeah, you guys, what other questions do you have? I hope you're not too overwhelmed. I know it can be kind of daunting to tackle something new, especially when it comes to social media. It can appear very, very complex. And of course, these individuals are doing it to a T. But it's also making that much more of an impact on their business. Audrey talked about how many more leads that they've gotten through Instagram. And the algorithms are so much more in our favor in Instagram than they are on Facebook. So I think that's all I have for you guys. Any other questions for me? Feel free to hop out, unmute yourself if you have any other questions. I will stop sharing my screen with you. There we go. Anything else, you guys? Okay, awesome. Oh, it's the same way, Ken. So the question is how to find Facebook friends, how to find ISA people. Once you open up the app, there's 4 options along the bottom. One is search, and you can search. It just brings up a search bar, just the same as Facebook. So that is one thing. Just like with Instagram, you can choose to have your profile be private. I'm sorry. Just like with Facebook, you can choose to have your Instagram profile be private or public. I would highly, highly encourage you to do public. People won't be able to see what you're all about, right? Within Instagram, the way that people thrive on being able to find you through hashtags, through searches, through, like if any one of you have hashtagged our 2K18 summer shred, if somebody were to tap on that or search that hashtag, your post would come up. I mean, that's how cool this is and how easy it is for people to get connected and find you. So I know some people don't feel comfortable with sharing that much on these social media profiles, but Instagram, that's really how it works. So maybe you could, if you're not comfortable sharing everything, then maybe alter the content that you share on Instagram. But you're going to lose a lot of the impact if you don't make it public, your profile itself. So just my final words to you guys would be, just take it one step at a time and have fun with it. I know that there's some days where I don't feel like taking a video or I don't feel like posting a picture. So it really is about finding that balance. But being consistent with it would be the biggest thing, so that you stay at the top of people's, when they pull up their Instagram, their app, you're literally at the top of their mind. So some days if you've seen anything that I do, sometimes I'll just put a quote up, write something that, stuck with me. And, I'll do a couple of those, a couple of pictures of Lucy, and that's it. But there's other days where, I really want to add that value. So it is about balance, finding what works for you, finding a good rhythm with it. But it can be a lot of fun. I've had just so much more actual connections with people because of my stories than any posting I've ever done. So for people, if you want to leverage this, it is a wonderful, wonderful tool. So have fun with it, stay consistent, explore, shadow, just play around, and then reach out with questions. We're all here to kind of learn this together. It is new, but dang, is it taken off. It's worth taking the time to get to know.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you, guys. Have a great night. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.